Hello, everybody. We are
Hello.
going to
Hello.
start a very exciting episode today. We have our very first interview. I'm super excited. We have a couple questions prepared. I feel like our conversations are going to go so well that we might not even touch all of these questions. But before we even go into that, I want to introduce our podcast a little bit. We are a podcast that covers a variety of topics from faith, enneagram, being a third culture kid, navigating adulting, etc., and lots of brain dumps. But before we introduce our interviewee,
You heard him a little bit.
Hi, my name is Yehna.
I'm Jessie.
And my name is Gian.
Surprise.
And we are
at
the
table.
Woohoo! Oh, go ahead, Jessie. Introduce our interviewee.
Yes. Well, you guys probably were like, who's that third voice there? John was like, hi in the background. But surprise, surprise, we have an interview. Gian and I, my friend Gian and I, we've known each other since 8th grade, I believe, right?
Mhm.
So we've been friends for a while. Gian's
I did not know that.
Yeah. It's crazy that like now as 24, 25-year-olds, like we have friendships that are 10 plus years, which is such a weird concept, like as you age. But Gian is visiting Chicago. This is his first time visiting. He said he would come every single year because his sister went to college here, and
But I've never gone.
never showed up.
But I'm here now.
Yes.
Yay.
So we had a little reunion session. And it was really exciting just to catch up. But you're gonna hear kind of Gian's background and a little bit about his story and a little plug about what he's doing now and his platform. But this is Gian. Gian, I know like we kind of gave like a background of how we know each other and all that, but can you share? And I think I'm gonna learn a lot about you through this.
Interview?
Yeah, because
Okay.
I don't
Should I be
have
nervous?
like no, I mean
I'm a little nervous.
I'm nervous.
I know. Yenna's the
But I'm
most
excited.
nervous.
No, I'm excited. I'm really excited.
Gian said, I'm gonna like go into this totally blind. I don't want to know the questions. So
I don't relate.
Yenna
All right.
has all
relate.
the nerves.
All right. Hit me with the first question.
But Gian, can you give us a rundown of like why were you in Japan? Like you're a Filipino raised in Japan. Can you give us the rundown of like your history up until post-grad?
Yeah, that's correct. Like Jessie said, I am a Filipino from Japan. That's exactly how I introduced myself when I went to college in California. So the background is, I'm a Filipino citizen, still with a Filipino passport. My parents, my mom and dad, both full Filipinos, grew up in their respective provinces. After they were done with college there, they went to Japan for various reasons. My dad went for a scholarship for engineering. My mom went for family reasons. She had her sister in Japan already. So
wow.
They actually met at a Japanese school there. What had happened was my dad had courted her like the last year he was there. I think she was already working. And so once they found solid jobs, full-time jobs, my mom at the embassy, my dad at Sony,
Wow.
they decided just to
What?
start I know. So they
gosh.
decided to just start a family there. There are other reasons why they didn't want us to go in the Philippines. One, just there was a situation where it was a little bit dangerous for us to go back. But being established in Japan was just better for our own well-being, and also they were already established in their own jobs. So just better opportunity. I think that was the biggest thing. So went to an international school, Catholic school from elementary. And then when I switched schools, middle school, that's when I went to a Christian middle school and high school. And when I met Jessie.
So cool.
I am, again, just to reiterate, Filipino. Then after graduating in Japan, I moved to the States for college, where I was in California. Then now I am in Orlando and visiting Chicago today to be here.
So nice.
Yeah.
It must be freezing.
Yes, it is. And it is cold as heck.
Oh my goodness.
It was so sad. Like Gian absolutely hates the cold. Like he hates the cold. And out of all the weeks, this week it just happened to drop. And I was like, dang it.
I was gonna
And
say,
I'm a little spoiled too, just because I was in California for college, right? So it got cold there, but it was primarily warm most
Are
of
you
the time.
SoCal or NorCal?
I was in SoCal, so I was in
Okay.
LA and then San Diego area for a little bit.
Oh,
But
super cool.
obviously, as most people know, Florida is just hot all year round,
Right.
and humid, but it can get cold. It can get cold, but not like Chicago.
Not like Chicago. Oh, I said bye
Coldest
to
is
that.
exactly. Cold there is like 50 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yep. Kind of like here too.
Yeah. So that's a little rundown of my background.
That's super cool.
I know it's not Yana, you're not the only one that's learning about Gian here. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, what? These are questions that you never think to like ask,
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
I think a lot of times people think immediately, oh, are your parents missionaries? Are they in the
Mhm.
military?
Right.
So true.
And immediately I'm like, no, they actually met there and they had jobs there. So that's why
I think that's such a unique story too in
Mhm.
itself. Out even in like the
Mhm.
business realm,
Right.
it's
Mhm.
not a usual one. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's really cool. Well,
Thank you.
nice to
Appreciate
meet
it.
you.
Nice to meet you too.
No,
All
but my
right.
question is like, what was it like growing up as a Filipino in Japan? You know, because obviously we
Mhm.
grew up in the same like we're in the same
Right.
school, but I kind of looked the part a little bit, you know. So what
Right.
was that like for you navigating that?
Right.
Mm.
I mean, obviously, as a Filipino, I am still Asian.
Mhm.
So I think I didn't really realize the differences. And again, as you're, growing up and a child, those are things that you're not really aware of,
Mm.
um, as much as you are when you're growing up. So
Mhm.
even coming from a international background my whole life in a small bubble, it didn't really matter to me.
Mm.
I think even however, in my own pride as a Filipino, and I feel like a lot of Filipinos can feel the same way. Like we're always about, oh yeah, I'm so proud to be Pinoy, love the
Mm.
Philippines, et cetera, because we got to visit back and forth the whole time.
Right.
So I actually took pride in being one of the token Filipinos in my school, whether that be in
Mhm.
my elementary school, middle school, and high school. And maybe Jessie can kind of affirm that that's what I was like in high school too. Um, yeah, and so whenever there was another Filipino, however, in the school, they were usually one of my closer friends.
Mm.
Mhm.
So my best friend from elementary school is also Filipino. However, there was a little bit of I actually didn't like that he came in because he came in later in elementary. I didn't like that he was another Filipino. It's almost as if I wanted to be the only one.
Original.
Yeah, I wanted to be the original and only Filipino in the class, and then he came. There was a little bit of tension, but we worked that out. I was super happy we became close, and then one of my close friends in high school also is full Filipino. So,
Mhm.
Mm.
anyways, outside of the context of school, my family we like to go out to eat. We'd like to go out to explore and try different things in Tokyo. However, because I am with my family, I felt comfortable with them because they were also like I guess foreigners, and we say gaijin in Japanese, so we'd play
Mm.
off this foreigner card the whole time, and so I didn't really realize that if we stuck out or not, just because I
Gotcha.
was just living life,
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
right? Because I lived there and I knew that I was different in terms of race, but
Mm-hmm.
again, being an Asian with black hair, all of us have dark black hair, and we
Mhm.
almost kind of blend in,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
and
It's
so it
almost
didn't
like you own that difference and
right.
you're just like content with
I
that.
was just okay with that
Right.
exactly, um, because I did see that there were other people that were not Japanese, but they lived there, so I
Mhm.
accepted the fact that we weren't alone in that
Mm.
situation. A lot of
Mhm.
my family friends that were in Japan, same thing, full Filipino, but their parents just so happened to live there, and their kids grew up in Japan, so it was fairly a normal thing for me.
Like you definitely had other people that were in the same context as you, so it
Right.
was like a little more natural, or you didn't notice as big of a difference. Like
Right.
you had your community of people like you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And again, I think the story would be very different for people of different races.
Right.
or people that was more of a, let's say if they went to a Japanese public school, I know that
Right.
probably would have been a lot harder for me just in the context of how I know some Japanese public schools ran. There it is a
Right.
little bit
Yeah,
more
that's true.
prejudice,
Mm.
and to say that some of the students wouldn't accept me for being a different, like a darker skin tone than them,
Mm.
or looked even just slightly different,
Right.
right? Because even as a Filipino, some people say, "Oh, you don't really look Filipino. You look a little more Japanese or Korean, or a little
Right.
bit of a half."
Hmm.
But
Mm.
that's because there was more of like a limited option of what that looked like. But
Mm.
if I was in a
Right.
Japanese public school, I'm sure that differences would have stood out a lot more.
Right. Right. And even
Mhm.
just the demeanor and stuff. But
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Right. I feel like that speaks to so many Asian cultures though, the prejudice. But yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to see and know that that's still a thing.
Right.
And
Right.
I'm sure the respective countries are trying to battle that or make things
Right.
better. But
Mm.
yeah,
Well, I love that you were just so, I guess, confident and content. I think that's not a story you hear a lot. At least that's why it's so fun to hear just a different personality and different
Yeah.
perspective in that, because even as someone who might have been almost the same ethnicity or culture, you just find yourself feeling out of place. But I love that you kind of just owned that. I mean, not to say that you probably had your own set of struggles that you had to go through in different stages of your life, but overall, I respect that highly.
yeah, I appreciate it. I think it is difficult. One thing that I regret for sure growing up in Japan is that I am not fluent in Japanese,
Mm.
which is so sucky to say out loud, because it's almost embarrassing, right? Like how
Yeah.
is someone that grew up in Japan not fluent in the native tongue there? And so again, it's the context of, I was in international
Right.
school. I spoke English primarily at home. My family spoke Tagalog to me mostly,
Mm.
which is the official language in the Philippines. So
Mm.
there wasn't much practice for me to, or for a lot of instances where I could use that Japanese
Right.
at a young age.
Right.
Then in high school, obviously, I learned a little bit of Japanese. Picked up some slang here and then, some inappropriate words, right?
Always,
The
always. That's
essentials.
that's just the
always the
essential.
essentials. Yeah, but just kind of going back to the topic of being confident in who I am in the uh, having Japan be my home, but also be a foreigner, is that
Right.
whenever I would visit back home, like during college, whether the Christmas or the summer, I absolutely loved being kind of a tourist in my own home.
Mm.
Cool.
That was huge. I
That's so
felt like I
cool.
never really experienced Japan as it was, because
Right.
I just lived there. There was
Right.
no need for me to go out really. I was just there for school and like go out when my family went out. But
Right.
being more of a young adult, like I want to experience what Japan had to offer. So that's when I started going out more and experiencing the downtown area, visiting more cafes or sightseeing places. So I was very happy, obviously knowing the differences. And um, I'm a loud Filipino and very different from the
Love it.
quiet conservative Japanese that are there, but I didn't feel out of place. I was
Yeah.
just happy that
Aw.
I can call that my home.
And that's
Love
what I love
that.
about like Gian, because like we're both twos. So obviously there we hit it off, but like you're always so happy and always so joyful. Like
I love
you don't
that.
bring any kind of negative vibes. Like you're always so positive. And even just this weekend, like I haven't seen you in what, 4
Yeah, maybe like
years?
3, 4 years. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 4 years. But it's like he's the same. He brings the same kind of vibe. Energy is so great. And
Love
you're
that.
just instantly drawn to Gian. Like he has such great
Mm.
charisma and he takes life, he makes the most out of his life. And I think that's what makes you you.
I appreciate it. I
Yeah.
appreciate it, Jessie.
I feel
Thank you.
that. I
Thank
truly
You
do.
can feel it, right?
Because honestly, I was telling Jesse, I'm like, I'm so nervous because she was like, don't worry about it. He's so chill. I'm like, Jesse, but I'm not chill. I have no chill. What are you saying? I'm not worried about him. I'm worried about me.
Right. I think you're
But
great, Yana. I think
yeah,
you're great.
no, thank you. But I think it's just been so natural already, just hearing your story. It's been so
Mhm.
fun because first of all, for me, I'm meeting you for the first time. So just hearing just the different perspectives. And I really want to go to Japan. I've never been. So
Mhm.
I just like hearing what Japan's like and through
Yeah.
different
Well, I hope
lenses.
that you'll be able to experience Japan sometime soon.
I really want
Fingers
to.
crossed.
Yeah.
Fingers
Well, you've got a
crossed.
friend from there, and you've
I
got
know.
another new friend from
Yay! I'll just hit you guys
Yes.
up. Guys, I'm here.
exactly.
We'll
Okay.
plan it. We'll plan it. But I feel like that perfectly like segues into segue. Shout out to Segue. Your
Segway is one of our
classmate.
classmates from high
Oh,
school.
I can't believe I
So
used the
a
word
cool name, a cool
segue.
name.
I
Love
love
that.
that.
No, but my question is like you shared your TCK background, you
Mhm.
shared like how you got there. How is your TCK background impacting you now besides the fact that Gian is not a citizen and we've talked about it all weekend that OPT, all that it's tough. It's been tough. But besides the whole like I'm not a citizen, how has it like affected you socially or
Mhm.
like in your like as an adult growing up? Like how is that impacting you now?
It's something I think about every day. It's
Really?
something that I can't really escape. I think because that's a huge part of my life, especially knowing that I'm not a U.S. citizen. There's a lot of like almost walking on eggshells because I'm currently in my OPT, and it just feels your life is kind of in shambles a lot of times. It's very difficult to live with and know that I have friends from Japan who grew up there and are U.S. citizens, right?
Mhm.
I'm jealous of it. I'm envious that
Mhm.
I couldn't have that and make things a lot easier. And I think back through in my past, like, darn, I wish I was a U.S. citizen so I could have done this. I could have done that. However, outside of like those struggles, me knowing and kind of confident in who I am as like, I am a Filipino. I'm so happy about that. And I'm so glad I could call Japan my home. It's really cool to be able to share that culture with
Mhm.
the people around me. And
Right.
if anything, it allows me to share a totally different perspective on what my life was like, and the worldview that I have because of where I grew up. Right. And so
Yeah.
I value diversity so much. And so be able to provide that and be able to hear how other people think, whether that be domestic um, people or also people that come from an international background or also other TCKs, right?
Right.
I think that's so huge just to listen to each other. So, if there's ever a chance where I get to share that with my friends or give them the opportunity to learn something, I will
Yeah.
absolutely take that as someone that is a TCK.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm learning a lot because I think it's so true. I think you just think TCK a lot of times it equates to being a missionary kid. We forget that that missionary is just like a mini sliver of an experience of a
It is. Yeah.
It is.
TCK life. And so I love that you were in Japan as a Filipino, and then now you're in the US as a Filipino, navigating not just three cultures. You're like
Within.
multicultural,
Right,
Yeah.
and
exactly.
so it sheds a whole different light to what that means for you, and then it almost encourages whoever is in that minority group within the TCK experience to think, oh my goodness, whatever I'm seeing or feeling might feel strange, but it's part of who I am and the way I experience life. And I just can't I'm just excited to see how much your story will encourage someone who might be listening to in the future or way later in the future. So no, I'm just like super excited to hear all
Yeah,
that you
no,
have to
that's
share.
thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And just kind of a little weird. It's a little weird thing that I do and kind of help put in perspective is I think about what am I more like, right? Am I more Filipino? Am I more Japanese? Or have I become more American?
Right.
Three totally different cultures. I will kind of, every day lean into what I'm doing, or the way that I interact emotionally, the way that I interact socially. Am I
Right.
more Filipino the way that I interact socially? Am
Mm,
I more Japanese the way that I'm more emotionally? It's so
mm,
weird to kind of pick and choose
right.
what that is I look like. And a part of me
Mhm.
really just wants to accept that like it is a mix of all three and just all the other experiences I have that come from those experiences. So
Mm.
it that is something that I don't know if it's better for me to try to get rid of the
Mm.
thought of thinking like, but or if I want to lean into that, right?
Right.
So
Mm.
that's
I
something
would
I'm
say lean into it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, of course, it probably will come with a lot of feeling like you're five different people in one, and to
Mhm.
navigate all of those things is truly like going to a buffet and then you have all your favorite foods and you're thinking, okay, which one do I choose before I get too full? But I think that just speaks to just the advantage you have
Mm.
Mm.
and how much more you would be able to connect, and vice versa, them connecting with you. And
Mm.
so I won't
And
say that it's
yeah.
going to come easy, but I think that would be so cool just if you kept leaning into it, and the more you would gain from that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we talked about it in episode 4, like our TCK background and kind of giving
No,
the stereotype.
3.
Oh, was it 3? No, it's 4. 3 was the enneagram. 4 is the
Oh.
TCK. No, but in that episode, we were sharing our stories of being a TCK, and we're
Right.
like, oh, there's these stereotypes of TCKs being like this
Mhm.
and that. But I think it's refreshing that Gian's on this podcast because he's bringing a completely new perspective of like, no, sometimes like you just see the best in my experience and I just have to make the most out of it. And like I'm trying to um kind of navigate it. Like it doesn't have to be so complicated sometimes. It's just that
Right.
no, this is a privilege and I'm just going to thrive wherever I am in utilizing the strengths that I have from being
Right.
this or being that. So
Mhm.
it's kind of refreshing, because I think
Yeah.
Hannah and I sometimes are like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
so complicated and
I'm glad I can
Right.
kind of provide that side of
Mhm.
it. And thank you for the insight, Jessie and
Oh, no. We're just, just rambling over here. Honestly, half the time I have no idea what I'm saying.
We're just roll with it,
Natural wisdom.
Natural, yeah. Well, thank you.
Take me away. I can't.
No, but I think you already touched on this, like navigating TCK, being in the States where you've never lived before.
No.
But how have the relationships looked like? Like you recently moved to Orlando. Has it been a year? Yeah, not even.
It's
right?
almost been a year.
Almost been a year.
Wow.
How is navigating that and building community in a place where maybe you might not feel completely like you mentioned that there weren't a lot of Asians in your area.
Mm.
How do you navigate finding communities or being in a community where there are a lot of differences?
Mm.
Yeah, I do, and I am very grateful that I think I'm very socially adept and
Yeah,
extroverted.
you are. Yeah.
So, when I was in college, a lot of times I did gravitate towards people who looked like me. I
Mhm.
think that just kind of happens in,
Right.
human nature where you are more comfortable with things that are more similar to
Mhm.
you. And my friend group was mostly Asians. Being in SoCal, California,
Right.
just in general, there's just a lot of Asians, a lot of Filipinos, and like,
Mhm.
Right.
hey, I relate to you. I like you. Let's be friends.
Right.
Right. So that's just kind of what I was used to. Um, and it was easier for them to relate that, yes, I am a Filipino, and maybe they didn't really understand what it looked like to be to have lived abroad or,
Mhm.
be from Japan in general. But I'm just glad that I did find a community who was interested in me and interested in what I was like. And I'm also very influenced easily. So I think the way that I speak and the things that I did become more so American.
Cali
Right.
boy.
Garrett very more like, dude, what's up, bro? And so that was very evident when I would visit Japan. People would just pick that out very easily, and I'm like, what? No, I'm still the same person. And again, I do think I am still the same person to the core
Yeah.
Right.
growing
Oh, yeah.
up. But again, you have just experiences that change some subtle things about you.
Mhm.
But again, going back to now being in Florida when I had first moved there. So a little context, I do have a girlfriend, and so she lives in Florida as
Hmm.
well. But she also just recently moved there, like maybe 4 months prior to when I moved. Uh,
Hmm.
Oh, I
yeah,
did not
so
know that.
she wasn't there very long either.
Okay.
So we were kind of both there. We didn't really have a lot of friends.
Right.
So when I first moved in January, we actually went to like an event at a boba shop. And
Hmm.
so one thing that I was wanted to be intentional about was finding a community and finding friends in any
Hmm.
way that I can, because I felt like I was lacking that in California,
Right.
especially starting from the pandemic. That was a
Right.
difficult time for me.
Right.
So I came into Florida like wanting to change that. So I'm
Hmm.
lining up at this boba shop, and I see these two people, and immediately I I like one of their tote bags, and I want to say something. So I do. Hey, I like your tote bag. And then we just start talking. And that was the first friendship that my girlfriend and I had made. And so the guy from the two, he's like one of my best friends there. So we met their friends. And then we were also intentional about wanting to hang out with them. And so at that point, it didn't matter to me if they were Asian or if there were people that
Right.
were alike. What mattered to me the most was being able to create a space of people who wanted to hang out with me, and
Hmm.
for me to feel the same way.
Right.
I was kind of sharing this with my friends earlier, but I'm seeking friendships that provide substance in my
Hmm.
life, and
Truth.
if I don't
I
see
love
that
that.
in the conversations or the interactions that we're having, especially being 25 now, or like just young adults in general,
Right.
I don't have time for these superficial
No.
relationships. I want
Mm,
people to help me grow and help me be a better person and succeed. So, um, yeah, I think I just kind of had separated that. I'm looking for friendships that are genuine and can potentially be everlasting, rather than finding a friend group
Right.
or friends that look like me.
I
Right.
love
I
that.
I was seeking what was more important rather than
Hmm.
seeking what was comfortable.
That's
mm,
so good. It's kind of similar to what Jesse and I always talk about, honestly, but
Mm.
just it's enough of that small talk. It
Yeah,
can't
exactly.
anymore. I can't. It's just like too much. You can no longer do that. Move past it. Oh my goodness. More and more, I'm just like learning how bold you are.
Oh,
I
you're so
oh,
kind.
I can't like I
I
always think, oh my
know.
goodness, I love their outfit, or I love it, and I just it's a thinking thought. I can't think like to
He
say it
just
out
does it.
loud.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I always appreciate people like you.
Oh, I think you're
Make my
so
whole
kind.
day. But oh man, that's so cool. I feel like I need to challenge myself, but at the same time, knowing myself is gonna take too long.
Yeah, I think we all live in different circumstances, and there's different
Mm,
situations, and
mm,
our personalities are obviously going to be different from one another. So
right.
I do have to say again, I'm just more comfortable with making new friends. So I'm glad that I have that as part
Love
of my
that.
like assets. So, you
Mm,
know, I want to do whatever I can to help people feel comfortable in themselves in that socially as well.
that's
Right.
so
But I
Hmm.
good.
understand people are more introverted or, you know, not as assertive in that way, but
Right.
that's okay. You are who you are, and that's important too.
Right. Oh wow. So
I
cool.
know. I just love like the season that Gian is in. Like I liked how you talked about the substance. Like
Hmm.
that's
Mm,
something, and the thing is having friends that might just be for a season, like that's okay too. But I
Hmm.
think you're at
mm,
this point in your life where you're like, okay, this is I'm gravitating more for people that are going to help me grow. And like,
Hmm.
it's not all just about having fun, right?
Right.
You want people that
mm,
care about your life, that like invest in you. And that's
mm.
something that, you might not seek at 25. I don't
Hmm.
know. Maybe guys aren't
Yeah.
looking for that,
Hmm.
and finding guys that want the same thing might be a little difficult.
Hmm.
Like, it takes
Right.
time and it takes the right people to have that happen for
Right,
you,
right. And I
you
think
know?
just kind of to relate more to like the TCK perspective,
Hmm.
whenever, in college, I would mention I'm from Japan. Um, One thing that really kind of bothered me, and I guess something that I was desiring, was for people didn't ask anymore. Like, where are you from? Oh, I'm from
Mm,
Japan. They didn't ask any more about that. And so
Mm, yeah, I relate to
it
that.
didn't seem like they
Yeah.
were interested in my
Hmm.
background, because that was such a huge
right.
part of my life. And so
Right.
the people that I did find myself closer to is, people again that was providing that substance, and because they were curious about my life,
Right.
right? They were asking questions about my life in Japan, and so I think with my friends in Florida, that's exactly what they were like, right? And if
Mm,
anything, in the situation I am with my OPT and work
mm,
authorization situation is, they're wanting to do anything that they can to support me, and they're asking me
That's
questions about
awesome.
like
that's
how's it
awesome.
going, and that's something that was just kind of reiterated in my friends here that I saw, all my high school mates, because they understand what that's kind of like. Even if they do have a U.S. citizenship, they
Mm.
have friends, and they had
Right.
international friends that were kind of going through the same boat,
Hmm.
and just the support that I have from them like means the world to me. So that's
Mm.
just kind of a little more an
Right.
example of coming from that TCK perspective.
Right. No, I think it's sometimes when we're younger, we sometimes feel a little, I don't know about you, but I felt a little bit too, that they're too invasive. But then as you grow older, because it's something you treasure so much in your heart,
Mm,
when you do
Yeah.
introduce yourself and you finally let that complicated background to the open, you kind of hope that they would engage more with it.
mhm.
And then they kind of leave you, they go, oh, cool, I'm from wherever. And I'm thinking, oh, yeah, okay, moving on. And you're thinking, you're not curious, like even a
Right.
little bit, okay. And then I feel a little bit. I was just thinking about that when you're sharing. You kind of want to find people who value you as a whole,
Yeah,
Mm,
as
and
a
not
whole. Yeah.
just
Oh yeah.
what they like about you now,
mhm.
but
Mm.
everything that you have to offer. Of course, sometimes you need to navigate maybe more difficult parts of you, but overall, just you're hoping that your TCK experience is not so much of a burden, but almost a gift to share to
Yes.
others.
Mhm.
Wow.
So, but yeah, I for sure yours is a gift to share. It's I will say earlier I was gonna say if I lost my chance, but when you said you were kind of sad you weren't the token Filipino anymore, but you're my first Filipino interaction ever.
Oh, let's go.
So
Let's
yeah,
go.
so you will be a first Filipino token friend to me.
Nice. That's
That's
awesome.
special.
That is very
So
special.
That is
that's
But
really
special.
cool.
yeah, I'm glad that you guys are able to feel the same way in that, just because I guess it was kind of difficult to navigate,
Mm,
right? And there was a point where sometimes I wouldn't introduce myself that I was from Japan, because
Yeah.
it would
mm,
make things a little bit more complicated.
right,
I would just say,
Just
yeah,
to explain.
I'm Filipino, and
Mm-hmm.
right.
yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I always said, we're based in California, or like, and then
Yeah,
end
Yeah.
it there.
exactly.
Right.
But I take full
Yeah.
pride in it now,
I
and
love
every
it.
chance I get, I want to make sure I share that as part
Right.
of who I am.
I need to learn that. I need to learn that. I'm gonna
I know, like,
emanate that energy to myself.
Here, I'll shoot it to you guys.
Oh,
yeah, give it
thank
to
you,
it.
thank
We
you,
need
thank
it.
you.
I mean, not that Yana and I are like ashamed or embarrassed. It's just
Right.
we just I think we overthink, and we're
Mm,
getting to that place where we want to fully, I mean, this is why we're doing the podcast. We're fully wanting to say like this is us and this is our
Mm,
background, and
I
it's
like that.
complicated,
mm,
but it's great. And I think you're at that point. And I think that also connects with like what you were doing with the whole TikTok platform
I
and
love that.
getting that going, because like how has that been for you? Because being a Filipino from Japan, like that in itself has helped,
Right,
people are like interested.
right.
People are like, okay, who
I
are
love
you?
that.
Like, we love your content and all that stuff. How has navigating, like, how has TikTok been for
Yeah.
you, and having that background because of the content that you
Yeah.
have?
You know what? It's actually funny. You just reminded me of something. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, when I first started making TikToks, my content actually revolved about being a Filipino from Japan.
No way. Well,
It
yeah, I
was,
remember this.
yeah,
I
like
remember
my
this.
username, as silly as it was Gian underscore Filipino from Japan.
Short
But
lived, short lived.
anyways, a lot of the content that I would make, especially ones that got a little bit more traction on the platform, was making kind of like sappy, sad things about. I would play a sad audio, and then I'd put captions about oh, I'm an international student and all my friends have left, so I'm alone here. And I don't have my friends around the area.
COVID.
All of that. And
Oh,
yeah, I mean, these are things that I was genuinely feeling, but I
right,
just place to kind of express that. And it's not like I was posting it as like a pity thing, but I wanted to post that this was a difficult situation for me.
right,
So,
Yeah.
that was content that I thought was relatable to that can seek traction to other people that felt the same way as me,
right.
or other international
I
students.
love that.
Like what
Yeah,
we're doing.
exactly. That were also international students feeling the same way because going home, we didn't even think was an option for us when
Right.
COVID hit either,
Mm-hmm.
right? So,
Mm,
especially being a pandemic graduate, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
get to walk. So there was just a lot of emotions
kudos
happening
to
at
you
that point.
guys.
Yeah, so, once I started making that content, I realized, people liked what I was posting, and people were following me, they were liking my videos, and then it made me realize again that, to the core, I am an entertainer. I want to be able to continue making people laugh. And since I couldn't do that to the people physically anymore because of COVID, I just switched that online. And so because I didn't have my family with me, I was
Mm-hmm.
alone, living alone as an international student
Wow.
finishing school and over the summer. So then
Oh
I
my
switched
goodness.
to just kind of expressing myself a lot more on TikTok. And I continued that, and I gained a pretty good following initially. And then at the end of 2020, I actually got to go back to Japan to be with family and do
That's
school,
so cool.
because I did grad school as well. So I got to do school in Japan
Mm,
for 3 months and stay home. And what opportunity? There's not a
Mm-hmm.
lot of opportunities to at this age to be with your family for
Mm-hmm.
so
that
true.
long either. And so I was like, shoot, as soon as I could get back, um, that's when I'm gonna go. And I actually extended my stay for another month just because I didn't want to go home at all, because I missed Japan. And
Right.
things were free, and then I got to share more of my life as a person that lived there. So then
That's
Yeah.
so
a
cool.
lot of what my content in TikTok was, going to these different places in Tokyo or outside of Tokyo,
I love
kind
that.
of share what that looked like, and kind of make jokes, or make memes, or do trendy things that were happening on
Hmm.
TikTok, but in a more of Japan perspective, or
Right.
um,
Yeah.
and I was also huge on doing like anime related things,
Yeah.
and especially because anime obviously is from Japan,
Right.
being there was huge for my content. So I was able to
Mm,
share my home and just kind of like my passions
that's so cool.
through my platforms, and I got like another huge like boost of community watching my videos. So that was really
Hmm.
neat.
Yeah. It's like just authentic. It's basically where it all started. So why not
Exactly.
watch it? Yeah. Oh my goodness. That's so cool. I was just a couple weeks ago, a friend was like, you guys should go on TikTok. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. But here we are talking to a TikToker. Oh my goodness. We got to get TikTok lessons 101
Yeah,
here.
I'll have
I
to help Jesse,
know.
I
Jesse
know. I
kind of
guess you're
figure
just
that
gonna have to
out.
come back on. Oh my goodness, so
Oh, we'll see about
cool.
that.
Now we're gonna go have to go follow and binge watch all of your TikTok videos.
Oh man, some of them are pretty embarrassing, but
Those are the best ones.
exactly.
I know. Where can we find you, Gian?
Yes,
Yeah,
please share.
yes. You can find me at Gian, so that's Gian Baka Boy. That's BAKABOI. So boy with an I,
I
not a
love
Y.
it.
Yeah,
Please
so
go
that's all.
follow immediately.
Yes. Thank you guys.
Click.
Thank you.
Now that we did the plug, it's like, oh, well, perfect time
All
to
right,
kind of
and
wrap
cut.
this up.
Yeah.
Go follow Gian,
Okay,
and he's
bye.
gonna be
Just kidding.
posting. But Gian, did you have any last things you wanted to throw that out there about, like,
Hmm.
this is something I want you guys to know about me, or anything else that maybe I haven't asked that you wanted to share about your
Mm,
experience,
Or
mhm.
words
or
of encouragement to
yeah,
anyone.
Right,
advice?
right.
Hmm.
Yeah, I do think, again, I come more from of a privileged place, saying that I didn't have as much struggles as a TCK. whether that be in Japan or when I came to the States. However, I do know that people do have a lot of hardship, and that's valid. Whatever you're feeling, I think, just lean into that and know that you're not alone. And I think it's awesome to kind of have this podcast as a resource. And, there are so many other people that you can talk to, and I'm sure different departments or just people knowledgeable in this topic that can help, right?
Yes.
I think one thing is also just make sure you're proud of where you're from.
Yes.
And learn to be proud of who you are, because that's having experience to live in a different country from where your parents are from, and to be able to bring that into your life and the context and worldview. I think that's so important to share with others, even if they don't really agree with you or find it to be a little odd. I'm sure the most important thing is if somebody does appreciate and want to learn more, that's what counts, right?
Yes.
So,
oh, I love it.
Good stuff, Gian. Natural at this.
Yes.
yeah. But thank you to Jessie and Yehna for inviting me to this and doing this as again for a resource for TCK. I think this is awesome. You guys are great.
Privilege.
You're great.
We are learning.
Thanks for being our first interview.
I know. Oh, I was so nervous. This was so good.
It wasn't too bad, right?
I was genuinely thinking about this all week, or ever since Jessie mentioned, I'm like, oh my goodness, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do all of this? And am I going to be natural? Are we okay? I have a stress ball in my hand, just letting you know.
Nice.
It came out.
But no, I want to again say thank you so much for coming and sharing your perspective. Truly learning. I need to be proud of who I am and all that I carry and all that I've learned. Take that with me through this week. Prepare my week. I love it. Please come back again.
Yeah, I would love to.
Maybe we'll meet at a warmer location. Maybe we'll go to Florida.
Yeah, I like that.
But yeah, but I guess we're gonna close. Gian, you're gonna see that we're not very good at closing our podcast.
No, it's okay. You guys do what you need to do.
We just say thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next podcast.
See you next time.
And we say
bye.
Bye. Woohoo!